Om Partaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam
Kratitam Purananina Madhye Mahabharat Advaitamrita Shinim Bhagavati Ashtadashatati Ambattvame Tadami Bhagavati Devavatveshini.
And let us read further.
There is no way other than knowledge for moksha. Shruti herself makes it clear that there is no other way than knowledge to gain this freedom.
I shall read. Nanyah panta vidyate yanaya Svetasvatara Upanishad.
Svetasvatara Upanishad, yeah.
For freedom from being a limited person, another path does not exist. And the whole problem is one of ignorance. What other way is possible? If I do not know something and knowing it is going to mean my freedom, I must know. Experience is not going to accomplish that freedom for me. The self is always experienced, and moreover, all experiences happen because of this awareful self. Any type of experience, whether subjective or objective, in relation to an object external to the senses, implies the presence of consciousness. A perception of a form, for example, is nothing but consciousness, plus whatever constitutes the perception. Similarly, sound, smell, taste, touch perception, or anything you imagine or dream are nothing but one consciousness which does not differ. It is not necessary to specifically experience the self because it is always self-evident. It is the self because of which you experience everything else. Therefore, freedom is a matter of recognition, a matter of knowing the self. The fact is, freedom is identical with yourself. It is not something that is created and can therefore be lost. If there is such a thing as freedom, it can only be intrinsic to the person who is seeking freedom and can be gained through the discovery that the seeker and sought are identical. It cannot be said more directly than it is in this Vakya. Nanyah panta vidyate yanaya. It appears in the Yajurveda in Purusha Sukta and is expressed differently in many other Shruti texts. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Anandam Brahmano Vidwan na bibeti kadachaneti. The one who knows the Ananda of Brahman is never afraid. Everybody knows Ananda in some form. Different types and degrees of pleasure from different sources will all reveal one fact, that in spite of limitations, you can be happy. It means that whatever Ananda you experience is nothing but a taste of what the self is. What does it mean then when we say one knows the Ananda of Brahman? Brahman is not an object of the self, and therefore this is the Ananda of oneself, the limitless, the whole. The one who knows this is naturally not afraid of any other thing because there is no other thing. It is not possible to be limitless and at the same time encounter the presence of a second thing. The limitless plus something is incidental name and form, Namarupa. The essential truth of all names and forms is yourself. Space and time are also the self, yet the self is independent of all of them, while they are not independent of the self. With this knowledge, you are no longer afraid, like one wave which has understood that it is water and that every other wave, in fact the whole ocean is water, knows that it need not be afraid of a breaker. It understands that the breaker itself is another form, both forms being purely incidental.
Identical. Sorry, incidental. Yeah.
Shankara quotes numerous Suti passages stating that freedom lies only in the knowledge of the self. Then he quotes passages confirming this by stating the condition of a person who is under the spell of ignorance. In Taittiriya Upanishad, in the same section, it is said, Atatasya bhavam bhavati. Thus he has
Bhayam bhavati.
Thus he has fear. Preceding to the statement, it is said when one makes even a small division in the self, there is fear. Udaram antaram kurute atatasya bhayam bhavati.
This we have discussed it many times. I have told this many times, yeah.
This small division may be the notion that the limitless includes me, but I am not limitless. Just as the ocean includes the wave, but the wave does not have the status of being the ocean and somehow belongs to the ocean. It is true if you are looking at the wave as one entity and the ocean as another. If you are looking at water in the objects called wave and ocean, you see only one water appearing in different forms. The form has a truth about it, which is water, and therefore the status of the reality of ocean or wave is vidya. You cannot say if the wave is non-existent, nor you can say it exists independently apart from water. Similarly, the individual and the Lord are one and the same essentially. When that is appreciated, you can play any role without fear or grief. As an individual, of course, you have a history. You were born at a given time, grew and aged, are sometimes successful, sometimes not. All this is possible for the form, but not for the essence of the form, which is one, changeless consciousness. If, however, you were to make the small division that the Lord is you, but you are not the Lord, no matter where you go or what you do, there is no possibility for any freedom from fear. As an individual, you cannot avoid fear of mortality, fear of isolation, fear of being overwhelmed by the world. Inner leisure is not possible for you because you have so many cases.
So, the meaning of the what I have been telling, Udaram Antaram Kurute Atatasya Bhayam Bhavati, that he is saying here that Antaram is, you cannot say Ishvara includes me, but I am different from Ishvara. Even that Antaram is, he says Udaram Antaram Kurute. Just imagine, even that small division you could not have in your mind that I am different from Ishvara. Ishvara includes me, but I am not Ishvara. You cannot say that, he says. The equation is totally efficacious. Ishvara equal to you equal to Ishvara, both ways. Udaram Antaram Kurute, normally, okay, we will say Udaram Antaram Kurute in the sense, must have been a small difference. But he says, the equation is total, both sides. You cannot have an effort to think that I only belong to Ishvara. That is typically that Vishishta Dvaitam, Dasa, Dasi Bhava, all those things. So that is why I sent that, today I have sent you a clipping, no, that what is Advaitam.
Actually, Swami, I read it once, twice.
Yeah, what is important is Advaitam, it is not opposite to Dvaitam. It includes Dvaitam in the sense where Dvaitam is mistakenly seen different. So, Tatra Dvaitam na Vidyate is called Advaitam. So, where Dvaitam is not there, we see Dvaitam. Between myself and Ishvara, there is no difference in terms of understanding. If you see the difference, Dvaitam. If you don't, because it doesn't exist. Dvaitam na Vidyate. Tatra Dvaitam na Vidyate, that is Advaitam. That is why it is a Bauri compound, not a Tatpurusha compound. Generally, even Sanskrit students, if you ask what is Avastu, you will say opposite to Vastu. Which is not true. What is not separate from Vastu is called Avastu. That way everything is Vastu. There is not Kallu Mandu, what he said, no, even that is reality.
Yes.
That is a beauty, that should be the understanding, that is the reality. That's why I sent that clipping, that Advaitam, it is not a philosophy, it is it is reality. Advaitam is reality, everything else is philosophy. This even generally will say, no, you are Dvaiti, I am an Advaiti. So each one passes the other. You follow one philosophy, I follow another philosophy. No, it is not so. Advaitam is reality. Everything else is a philosophy. That is how it is. Yeah. So, okay. It is a very good thing. Like Udaram Antaram Kurute, meaning you should say any individual, in the sense you cannot avoid fear of mortality, fear of isolation, fear of being overwhelmed by the world if you think that you only belong to the Lord. You are not the Lord. Even then you will have fear. Even if most devotee, if he has the slightest difference, I only belong to the Lord, but I am not the Lord, he will still have fear. ஐயோ ஒரு குத்தம் தியானம் பூஜையில தப்பு நடந்தது இல்ல சாமகிரியில தப்பு நடந்ததுன்னா ஐயோ போச்சு எனக்கு பாவம் வந்துருது. So that all those fears will be there. So you have to grow over it. This is only an upaya. All this puja, everything is only an upaya for you to arrive at this understanding that I am one with Ishvara. That is I always tell, even the people here, when I talk to them, I tell them that it's only an upaya. At the altar you submit everything, tanu, manu, sab kuch, and all your glory, uttar 4 liter milk, uttar 10 liter, 10 gram gold, uttar 1 kilo gold, everything, all that you think is something big, you put it on the Bhagavan. Everything is on the table. The other side, the giver is there, the being. This side, the receiver is there, the being. Because he has submitted everything. You have submitted everything unto him. What is left is only the being. And there, he has given everything. What is left is only the being. That identity is by the Nirajanam. The pura Nirajanam is Rajanam, the Rajatam, the shine, the Deepam that lights up between, only lights up the oneness between you and Ishvara. So if every puja we do it with that bhavana, it will grow on you that I am not separate. There is only oneness. That is how we have to understand. That is what is the meaning what he says. Varamantaram kurute atatasya bhayam bhavati. Even a small division is not acceptable. Because that is not reality.
நம்ம வந்து கல்புரம் காட்டும் போது கல்புரம் ஆயிடுமா அணைஞ்சு போயிடுமான்னு பார்த்து தான் கல்புரம் காட்டும்.
Because we are so much the smell வருது, all those things, we get into all those details.
To know a wise man, you must be wise. And it's only by some grace that you understand under a teacher who knows the truth of the self. What happens more often is that you choose a teacher who does not know, and this amounts to the blind leading the blind. Though a person may have some insight or even be very learned about the Shastra or under the spell of some delusion, he may think that he knows the truth and is in a position to teach others. Unless you know the truth yourself, how can you determine whether he really knows? And if you can determine it, you know the truth and do not require a teacher. So it is not difficult to understand how one can fall into the hands of a teacher who does not know. The problem often is that one takes a charismatic approach to learning. If someone is renowned, there is often an assumption that he is worthy of being followed. Suppose a renowned prince were to abdicate his position as heir to the throne and undertake a spiritual pursuit. Even if he does not know anything, you will find many people wanting to follow him. Siddhartha walked out and look what happened. Even the neighboring king, Bimbisara, told him that if Siddhartha discovered some truth, he, the king, would be his disciple. In order to have a following, he did not need to know anything. His renunciation was enough because he was a prince. People renounce their lives for a spiritual pursuit every day and nobody pays any attention. But if a celebrated person does it, it is a front page news. This is called reflected glory. And people seem to find it very difficult to distinguish between glory and wisdom. So when they follow such people, it is a blind leading the blind.
So that is why that Viveka Chudamani verse is very important. Etatrayam Ishvara anugrahaka hetukam manushyatvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha samsaya. Listen, for you to identify a teacher also, for that you need some punya. Since a lot of you would have done lived a good life and all that. So because it is the sense, there is no external ramification because the truth itself is not objectifiable. It is a reality. It is only self-evident, but it cannot be objectified. So that is why it cannot be, unless a person who knows, teaches, that it cannot, the words may not travel. So for the other person to know whether he knows or not, also he doesn't have a wherewithal. That is why the grace is required. That is why that Ishvara Anugraha Ketukam is mentioned in the Shastra also. But we don't have, I always tell people here, once we have come to Pujya Swamiji's Sannidhanam and we are exposed to his teaching, we can safely assume that we have already got the Mahapurusha Samshraya. So we don't have to look beyond that, whether we have got the grace or something like that. You have to pursue, that's all. Yeah.
As we saw, the problem of samsara is rooted in ignorance and the solution lies only in knowledge. Shankara, another Shruti, Brahma Veda Brahmameva Bhavati. He who knows Brahman is Brahman itself.
This, like here also it has come, in Gita also it has come, no? Jnanitu Atmaiva Mevatam. Bhagavan says, one who knows is me. He told it in several places he tells in the Gita itself. And every Upanishad says that, and Munda Upanishad says, Brahma Veda, Brahma, and even Taittiya Upanishad starts like that. Anandavalli, Brahma Vit Apnodu Param. In the sense, the person who knows is Param only, straight away. And even Mandukya Upanishad says, Acharyavan Purushaha Veda. A person, once who has got an Acharya, he knows. That much confidence it tells. Yeah.
17, Mundakopanishad, 3.
Mundakopanishad. Yeah.
Mundakopanishad, 3.2.9. The knower of limitless Brahman is necessarily limitless because limitless is not an object, which by definition excludes the subject. It is you or it does not exist. This is in contrast to the Shruti which says, saying he is one, I am another, he does not know. He is just like an animal in this way for the gods. Anyoso anyoham asmiti nasaveda yata Pashureva sa devana.
Pasureva actually it should be Pasureva. Why Pasureva? I don't know. Pasureva sa devanam. Devanam Pasuhu meaning, what he says is, Devas, no, they are always, what do you call, they always look for oblations from the people, from the Manusyas. So, if a Manusya, what do you call, pursues self-knowledge, Devas not very happy because they will lose their oblations. So, that is in that context, if you are like a Pashu, all the time propitiating, Devas will be happy. But if you look at yourself as Anyosau, Anyoham, Asmi iti, that I am different from Bhagavan, I am different from the other fellow. If Anyata, if you propitiate, you will remain as a Pashu and you will be happy, you will only be pleasing the Devas, but it will not help you in life. That's what it means. Anyosau, Anyoham, Asmi iti, na sabeda, the person does not know. Yata, Pasureva sa devana. We will be always like a Pasu, propitiating the Devas. That's what he says. So we should get out of that psychology or that we are different from Ishvara. Yeah.
Thinking he is different from the Lord, that person becomes exactly like a cow, meant to perform a variety of services. In an agricultural society, as the Vedic society was, the cow provided milk, bullocks till the fields and were used as beasts of burden. Just as these animals served human beings being gods, they see themselves as different from the Lord. The gods here are Agni, Varuna, Indra and so on, to whom these people offer various oblations. The idea is they are karmakas. They can only please the devas and get some small reward. Like the animals working all day for some fodder, these people perform various rituals for some punya and thus become like tools or pets for the gods. As you keep on pampering a pet because it is always available for a beck and call, so the gods keep on rewarding human beings who serve them. There is nothing wrong with that, but it will not solve the problem of samsara. There is a sentence in Sweta Upanishad.
Sweta
Swataro Upanishad.
That says, when one can roll the space as one does a sheet of skin, leather, then there can be the cessation of sorrow without knowing the self being the Lord.
Yeah, basically what it means, it is called an unlike example. Unlike example in the sense, ஆகாசத்துக்கு வேஷ்டி கட்ட முடியுமா?
You told us that.
ஆகாசத்துக்கு வேஷ்டி கட்ட முடியாது இல்லையா? நீ உனக்கு ஆத்ம ஞானம் இல்லாம உனக்கு மோட்சம் கிடைக்கணும்னா ஆகாசத்துக்கு வேஷ்டி கட்டுற மாதிரி. Since you can never do that, so you will never get moksha. That is what it means. So you don't try to get to moksha by doing only karma, but try to understand life. That is what he means. The unlike example he is giving. You cannot roll the space in a sheet of leather. That's what he says. Yeah.
18. Sweta Swataro Upanishad. 6.0. That is to say that there is no end to samsara without self-knowledge, whereas as the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says,
Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Yeah.
Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, the one who knows thus becomes all this. Saidam Sarvam Bhavati. 19. Brihadaranyaka
Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. Brihad means big. Aranyaka means forest. Since perhaps was in the forest that Rishi was there. So Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. So Brihad means big.
Here, Shankara is pointing out that there are thousands of Shruti passages saying that knowledge Vidya accounts for release and ignorance, Avidya accounts for bondage. And in equating the individual with the Lord does not become a samsari. The fact is revealed to remove samsara, not to prove that the Lord is a samsari. Essential nature of the Lord, which is the meaning of the word Yutvam, is also arrived at, thereby revealing the essential identity by the sentence that you are Tattvam Asi. Therefore, there is no contradiction. Knowledge and ignorance alone account for all these contradictions. Shankara also
see, that is why Gita also, the Tvam Padartha is explained in detail. See, the reality of Tvam we must know. Then only when the equation is done, that Tvam is equal to that, you will understand that Tat also is the same reality. Otherwise, you will reduce Bhagavan to your level and say he is a bigger samsari. So that is what we do normally. But because we marry, Bhagavan also gets married. Because we have sons and daughters, they also have sons and daughters. Because sons and daughters fight, there are also two sons fight. So everything what we bring down Ishvara to our level rather than rising us to his level. So the reality understanding helps us that the Ishvara also is the same Desakala Vastu Aparichinnam, the being, the ultimate, that is a Chaitanya Swarupam and all that. Otherwise, you will look at Ishvara as a bigger samsari than us. Because Veshti Samashti relationship. Veshti Samashti relationship may, I have one body, mind and senses to take care, Bhagavan has so many body, minds and senses to take care of, so he's got more worries and all that. So it's all okay, like initially for your bhakti, that Veshti Samashti relationship, Bhagavan putting him as a murti and worshipping, all that is okay at some level, but you slowly have to get over it and get to the equality situation where you understand your reality and then look at Ishvara and understand Ishvara, the world, Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. All the three are having the same reality in terms of Desakala Vastu Aparichinnam. Then question only will be that what it is all about, what is variety and all that. Then we have to say the variety is the Vibhuti. Vibhuti meaning this is how, which I always explain that the smaller the particle, the vibhuti, the vikshiptam, the explosion is big. Likewise, from atom to nucleus to hydrogen to the Desakala Vastu Aparichinnam, the being, when it explodes, the Jagat in its varied forms is what is available for transaction. It is nothing but my own vibhuti of the being. This understanding should hone in, should go into our psyche. Something like what all we have been remembering our name till now, from now on we should remember the reality, and this is the reality. And we are transacting, everything is the Sarvatma Bhava, in the sense everything is me only, but it is all available for transaction. So I do whatever I can to that extent my faculties permit in this Desakala Vastu, in this part of time and period, in this society, in these circumstances with my samskara, whatever the location, the configuration we say, no, you are a point in the whole galaxy. There, whatever you can do, that's it. That is part of the variety. It is again part of the variety. Nothing to feel small or big. But once you understand you are only water, the breaker or the surf or the wave, small wave, big wave doesn't really matter. Same thing is saying. That understanding that I am water in the ocean is nothing different from me, that should be very clear. So that is how, that is why he says Ishvara is not a bigger samsari or something. He is also a samsari, you are also a samsari. Samsaritvam is only a, what you call it is only a maya mithya. That is how it is.
Shankara also quotes Smriti. The supporting books of the Shruti, which are remembered and written independently, are saying the same thing. From the 5th chapter of Gita, he cites Ajnaneva
Ajnanena.
Ajnanena avrutam jnanam tena mukhyanti jantavaha. So what is jnanam is already there. The reality is already there. It is only avrutam being covered. Covered by what? Ajnanena. Ajnanena avrutam jnanam tena mukhyanti jantavaha. Because of that we get confused. We think that we are small, big and all that. Mukhyanti meaning confused. That's all. Yeah.
Amma, you can read from here. Can you continue?
Because of that, the beings are deluded, meaning they subject themselves to sorrow. Then, ihaiva taijjita sargo esham samye stitam manaha. Here, by them whose mind is established in that which is the same, creation, that is samsara, is won over. Gita.
Taihi jitaha. Taihi jitaha meaning over. Taihi. Ihaivi taihi meaning and whatever we have the mukhyanti, that delusion, if you are able to win over by understanding, sargo meaning in this janma itself, esham samye stitam manaha. He will have that tranquility, absolute tranquility as his nature, he will be able to appreciate. That's what he means, yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Kumar.
Samya is that which is the same in all beings, which does not differ at all, and is the same in terms of time and therefore limitless. Those whose mind is established in that are jnana nishtas.
Jnana nishtas.
Jnana nishtas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Later in this chapter, Krishna will say, samam pasya.
Samam pasyan hi sarvatra. Yeah.
Samam pasyan hi sarvatra. Indeed seeing the same everywhere, he does not destroy himself by his own ignorance and is therefore liberated. From the first Smriti quote, we understand that the problem is ignorance, and from the second that knowledge liberates. The Vakya continues with na hinasati atmanam. He does not destroy himself by himself. From this, it is clear that if he does not see, if he does not have that knowledge, he destroys himself. One can save oneself with knowledge. Then Shankara supports this with Nyaya or reasoning. He quotes a verse from the Mahabharata, giving all illustrations. The example reveals in the postulate, otherwise known as an invariable concomitance. If you say, for example, anything that is seen is subject to destruction, like a pot, yet as arasyam.
Yad drishyam tad anityam gatavat. That is how it is.
Tat anityam gatavat. Okay. This is Nyaya. From this, we can reason that the body is also subject to destruction because, like a pot, it is seen. The verse says, knowing there are mistakes, kusha or grass, we shot ups and so too a pond below the water, or that is below the water weeds. People walk around, whereas there some due to ignorance fall. See the special result.
I think, see, what he says is, we have to reason it out. We can reason that the body is also okay, like a part, it is seen. So,
Some disturbance, I think.
No, I'm just reading this illustration. I'm just going through the illustration. See, what it says is, in a pond, there will be weeds floating on top. Okay? But if you look at it, it will look like only the weeds are there, you can walk. But actually it will be only floating. So if you don't know that, if you are not aware of it, you will fall inside by stepping onto the weeds. Okay. Likewise, you can step on a grass. You may think it is grass, but it may be a snake. So only because of ignorance, you may fall into trouble. So the best antidote is knowledge. So that in order to say knowledge how important it is, he gives these two examples, that knowledge is what is important. And the previous example, yadyad drishyam tadyad anityam ghatavat, is a nyaya. Nyaya meaning a postulation, like the invariable concomitance we said. No, what he means is, that is, suppose, this is a famous example, parvataha vanniman. What it means is, you have seen in your kitchen, if there is a fire at the bottom, there is smoke on top. So if there is a smoke on top, you know that there is fire at the bottom. In the same way, when you go to see a mountain, suppose you see a smoke behind the mountain, you know that you can easily infer there is fire below. Because of fire only, there is a smoke. But invariably, the other thing may not be possible. Sometimes there can be fire without smoke. But wherever there is smoke, there is definitely fire. So likewise, he says anything, this drishtanta is whatever you see and transact in life is mithya. That is the siddhanta of the whole thing. Whatever you transact is mithya. Meaning anything that is defined by space and time and object is mithya only. So if this understanding is very clear with us, we will not associate ourselves with looking for some satyatvam or some sashwatam in anything we deal with. Whether we categorize them as good, bad or ugly or ishtam, anishtam and all that, whatever it is, anything that is drishyam, anything you transact in life is mithya. So the corollary is, whatever cannot be transactable, whatever is non-objectifiable in this whole prapancha, what is non-objectifiable? It is only you. Only the being, is non-objectifiable. So that is the only satyam. Everything else is mithya. That is that understanding is something very profound. The whole shastra is about that only. That is what he is saying. That yadyad drishyam tadyad mithya, that nyayam, and also the invariable concomitants, what I explained. And also these snakes and kusagras, whatever he is talking about, whatever you see, you cannot take it as real. You have to explore, you have to see the reality behind it. Reality behind it is unobjectifiable. Whatever you see is not real. That's what he says, he gives this two example of a weeds on a pond and all that. So the idea is, one can say oneself only with knowledge, only by understanding, not by transaction. Because we are generally transactional. Like typically what they say, no, today Trump is being called transactional. Transactional person. He is only interested, believes in deals only, even internationally. So anything transactional is mithya only. So that will not last for long. That is a different thing. But what I am telling is the easiest way to look at life. Anything that is transactional is mithya. And that what is not, but the solace is, our reality is non-transactional. So we are right now, here and now, we should be satyam, we will be able to identify ourselves and be happy. So that understanding has to sink in. That is the idea of explaining so much when we get into the 13th chapter, because we will be the Shastra feels, Gita Acharya feels, and Shankara also feels that in the 12 chapters, Ishvara, world and Tvampadartha have been fully explained. Now only the equation has to be tied up. People have to be ready to own up this reality. That is why they have given so much explanation, quoting before and Purva Para and all that, quoting Gita also before other Upanishads and trying to tell us reality is nothing but understanding the self. That is why that understanding life video as well as my article also sums up the whole thing. It's nothing but reality understanding life is. It's what this also will continue to do like that. Yeah. So we will stop here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you need to
Huh?
Can you read the Shanti Parva?
Yeah, I read.
Mahabharata Shanti Parva, but do not win.
Yeah, Mahabharata Shanti Parva. Yeah, I can read that.
Sarpan Kushagrani.
Kushagrani. Sarpan Kushagrani. Yeah.
ज्ञात्वा मनुष्याः परिवर्जयन्ति अज्ञानतस्तत्र पतन्ति केचित् ज्ञाने फलं पश्य यथा विशिष्टं
Yeah. So, Ajnanataha Trapatanti, in the sense we will cross Ajnanam, Kechid Jnane Palam Pashya, by which Jnanam you will understand this Ajnana, you will cross over Ajnanam, and that is the Visishtam, that is the most important thing in life. That is what Mahabharata tells. So it is the Smriti Parva, it is the Shanti Parva. And then the other thing, the previous one was Sarpan Kushagrani Tada Upa Tataha Apanam Nyatva Manushyaha Parivarjayanti. In the sense, like even the weeds that are lying on the pond, if you don't understand that beneath is water, he will step into it and he will get drowned. Whereas you have to understand that they are only weeds underneath, there is water. If you understand that, he will be able to cross Parivarjayanti, he will be able to cross over the ocean of samsara. That both these are quoted in from Mahabharata Shanti Parva.
Swamiji, the Tattopadana, how do you split it? Tattodapanam.
Yeah.
You split it?
Tataha dapanam. Tataha meaning it is, Tataha dapanam.
Dapana means weed.
Yeah.
Dapana means weed.
Weed, yeah, dapanam. Nyatva, that it is covered with dapa. Kushagrani, Sarpan Kushagrani is one. Like Kushagra, Sarpa, you can take it as Kushagra. And Tato, Dapanam, in the sense the weeds that are covering the pond, by understanding Manushyaha Parivarjayanti. If you understand the reality, then you will be able to cross over. Both the examples are semantic for that.
Dapana means covering then, covering.
Yeah, the weed. Because in the pond, the weed appears as if it is covering the water. But actually underneath water is there, it's only floating. So you must know that. Yeah. Otherwise you may fall in.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.